this is, in the process, you'll make mistakes. You will, no doubt. We all do. And when you make a mistake and it comes to me, I look at the mistake and I ask myself, what motivated this decision? What was the intent? And if there was no malice, there was no ill will, you thought this was the right decision to take in the circumstances, but you erred. It's an honest mistake. So you acted under an honest but mistaken belief. And I'll own the mistake with you and find a way of dealing with it. But if it turns out that you were actuated by malice, then it is indefensible, completely unjustifiable. In that situation, then, something is seriously wrong. So always when you take decisions, don't be influenced by extraneous or irrelevant considerations. Very important. And when that happens, when you act, you err, no malice, we look at it, and we'll say, well, it was a mistake. We explain it. Sometimes we come out publicly and say, we made a mistake. People will be angry, they'll criticize, but we own up. That's what we do. We account. And so it is critical for us to understand these basics together. This vision that I bring, of which I am but a custodian, I've said, is not self-executing. It requires agency, human and institutional agency. And it brings us to an aspect that also can be controversial. Who are these agents? Some of them are yourselves, as heads of entities, ministries, accounting officers. First question is, are we properly suited to the demands of the positions that we occupy? And that's a broad but profound question. You may be suited, and I encountered this when I was looking at competence to become a judge. There are some great lawyers, brilliant folks, very good lawyers, but who could not survive as judges because they don't have the temperament, the judicial temperament. It's not just about knowing the law, reading the law books. There's a temperament that goes with it. Are you able to sit and listen to somebody talk nonsense, sometimes even insult you? Are you able to listen, sit through that, and then sift through all that and find that nugget of rationality in that mass of nonsense that can save this person? That's the temperament. And so the positions that you occupy don't just require technical competence. They require some temperament, some emotional intelligence. Very important. And sometimes we lack this, or we fall short. And when we do, we need to be conscious and raise ourselves to the required levels. So the temperament is critical as well. And that temperament requires us to have the capacity to hear, to listen, to hear what people are saying, and to heed the advice that comes from them. Because a lot of the times you find accounting officers display the temperament of evading and avoiding. Sometimes you face up to issues and you become very honest. And sometimes when you appear before these folks, you must tell them, this is not my remit. Mine ends here. I don't take policy decisions, I implement. I don't pass judgment. I execute what I have to execute. And so if you are asking me questions that require some judgment call, please go and ask the relevant people, not me. I'm here to account for the figures that you see in front of you. Whether people had to travel or not, somebody takes that decision. It's not my call. They traveled. This is the amount. You will make up your own minds about whether that was justified or not. Here, my job is to tell you and speak to these figures and these events. Their justification, go and engage elsewhere. It's a very fair response. Don't get carried away. Don't get intimidated. Simply account. And you do that by tracing everything back to the source of the authority and whether that authority has been exercised properly or at all by yourself and your charges. Questions of a policy nature, high policy. High policy, actually by law, high policy, there's a legal authority from this jurisdiction. High policy is for the president. Matters of high policy are for one person and one office only, and that is the president. And that's the law. So any person who wants to venture into that space must then engage with the occupant of that office at any given time. It's not your business. So you can't be crucified for it. So you must be able to understand what it is that you can account for and what it is that falls outside the scope of your authority, and you must state upfront, this is not for me. I'm afraid, go elsewhere. It's a fair answer. And so I see many getting bogged down on issues and venturing opinions. No, you're not there to give an opinion. In court, opinion evidence is also very limited. People who can give opinions, first you justify why you must give the opinion at all. What qualifies you? You say, I'm an expert. We test you then. Why do you think you're an expert? It's not everybody who claims expertise who's an expert. So sometimes you get yourself into unnecessary trouble by straying into territory that does not belong to you. Because some excitable inquisitor is trying to engage you and sidetrack you. Stay on course. Stay on quest. That's what you do. So, we have these challenges. An economy that is not performing. A country that is tottering on the brink of collapse. Upper middle income by description has the advantage of stability and predictability and all these. Yet it is not performing well. Why? on many indicators, this country has some of the most educated people, trained at great expense by the people out there who are catching hell on the downside of society. They look to you. They trained you. They sacrificed for your education. You went to some of the best schools. You acquired the best qualifications. You owe them a debt. What are you doing for these people? When you sit in your office, and do you think about them? Creatures of flesh and blood catching hell at the margins of this economy. What do you think? What do you say about them? Every day, every minute of the day, what is it that you do that improves their lot? That's the question that should engage all of us. Educated people like yourselves, population of about 2.4 million, endowed with so much wealth. If the economy is not performing, it means the intelligentsia of the country has failed, and has failed miserably. We all must admit to this collective failure, in my humble view. We have failed. This country shouldn't be where it is. This country shouldn't be in debt. There's no way. It is unjustifiable. I cannot, by the life in me, understand why we are where we are. I cannot. I refuse to embrace this unpleasant reality. I refuse. I am a persistent objector to this conventional and mundane existence. And so if we accept that we have failed this country, all of us, because we thought that diamonds are coming, they will keep the revenue from the diamonds will keep coming, and whatever else, it's always going to flow. Over the years, if you've been there for a long time, you must hold yourself guilty. It's a mea culpa. Because it means you have been complicit in the failure. You've contributed immensely. And that's why perhaps people are saying you should be fired. Because they are saying, we shouldn't be here. We have educated people. They have been there. What have they done? No, we've managed the little that was coming. That's failure. How do we, if we conceptualize this country as a company, it would now be a company that is to be placed under liquidation. It's a collapsing company. And if you want to turn it around, you must come with a turnaround strategy. You're not just going to inherit it and run it as it has been run. No, it can't happen. It would be the height of folly if we tried that. It can't happen. We can't do the same things that have brought us where we are. Because the best they can do is to keep us where we are. And we don't want to be where we are. So everything, pretty much, that we have done, we need to cast aside and rethink. Come up with new strategies, new ways of doing things. We must be born again. We must die as who we were yesterday and before. To be reborn, a different breed and species that now carries the agency of taking this country higher. So all the conventional theories you've read from books, neoliberal economics, reject that nonsense. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked. Forget it. I assert this and I assert it intransigently. But it doesn't work. The Washington consensus is absolute nonsense. Don't come to me and tell me government must not get involved in the arena of production. No. I don't care from what school of economics you get it from, Chicago school, whatever. No, it's absolute nonsense. It doesn't work. And it will not work here. So let's try something we may even not know. Because the knowledge economy is an experimental economy given to vigorous subjacent experimentation. Otherwise, let's cut our losses and just disband. We can't. We can't sit here and spew out the same theories that have failed. We've got to be radical and transformative in how we approach our situation. So we've got to build wealth, not for now, but also for generations that are coming. We have failed. These diamonds, the diamond boom of the 80s should have created for us a buffer, impregnable. They didn't. That diamond boom came and went. Now we are in a diamond slump. We are down in the gutter. What do we do? These are the challenges that we face. We have to engage around these issues. I'm going to define just broad categories. One program that I put at the forefront is the digital economy. Rapid digitalization of our economy. It's inescapable. Should have happened way back. It hasn't, it has to happen. Tax collection, issuance of driver's licenses, issuance of passports, national ID cards, every aspect of this economy must be digitalized. It's critical, vast, and others in that space. You carry a heavy burden and responsibility. And in relation to this, you dare not fail. We as a country dare not fail, because it will sink us, it will sink this country. If you want to build an energized democracy, you have to be accountable. It has to be open. It has to be transparent. Whatever you do must be capable of real-time tracking. And you can't do that if you are using Stone Age tools. So we've got to digitalize. The digital economy is absolutely critical. The second that I highlight is to turn this country into the best logistics hub in the SADC region. Surface transportation, roads, rail, infrastructure that is climate resilient, not just any, climate resilient infrastructure. We were exposed very badly by the recent floods. Now we know. When we build, we are not just building. We must anticipate the vagaries of nature as well. And they exposed us badly recently. Huge loss. We need to build climate resilient infrastructure. Rail, very critical. And when we say road transportation, we're not theorizing. There's the A1 here. It's a huge and powerful artery that dissects the country. We're not going to just rely on the bequest by Cecil John Rhodes. That's the rail line that we have, we boast of, built so many hundreds of years ago. No. We have to build new rail tracks so that we are able to transport stuff from pit to port. We need to do this. We have no choice. World-class infrastructure. The third program is to raise agriculture's contribution to the GDP. BMC, BAMP, raise production levels, calving rates, the works, everything is called into question. Horticulture space, and we've added the hemp industry and medicinal marijuana. These are things we have to do. The fourth is health. We want to build the best healthcare system in Africa. And so we have committed ourselves to a health insurance approach. And so we need to engage in relation to the laws and the regulatory environment. We have to refurbish and fully equip all government health facilities. We have to rebuild the whole network of medical supplies. The entire value chain must be rethought. We have central medical stores. We spend billions, upwards of 1 billion every year, loss occasioned by that entity. You know, in a book written by Friedrich Engels called Critical Criticism, he says everything must justify its existence before the judgment seat of reason. Otherwise, it must give up that existence. Central medical stores must either justify its existence or give up that existence. I make this assertion very, very solemnly and very firmly. Because we can't keep running out of chronic medication across the country. And people die. We can't. It is unjustified. It's an untenable situation. How do we explain it? How do we rationalize it to ourselves, folks? So the approach that we've taken, and I know what happens. I've litigated around matters involving central medical stores. There's theft, a whole consignment of chronic medication is caught somewhere, becomes an exhibit, goes to Memarate, it's kept there, the case drags in the courts, the expiry date comes and goes, and it's a huge loss. Central medical stores. And what have I heard? Nothing creative, nothing new, same old. Oh, CMS, let's fund it. It doesn't work. It shouldn't work like that. It is completely unreasonable. So we're going to have to rethink and rethink very quickly. Some of these things are not going to allow us to theorize and hold workshops. We're going to have to hit it on the trot. It's important for us to appreciate this. We will make mistakes in the process, but I'd rather make those mistakes Somebody was asking me when I was mooting a certain decision, says, but we'll get sued. I said, yeah, let us get sued. I would rather fight this case in court and in the meantime have people's lives saved than sacrifice their lives in order to appease whoever it is. I'll rather fight it in the courts. Not afraid of getting sued. I've sued and been sued myself, so what is the problem? What we've said we will not do is to litigate unreasonably. But we are not going to get freaked out at the threat of a case in court. No. We have to do what is right for the people and for the country. I was just using Central Medical Stores as an illustration. The second program that I flag is the education system, a transformation, almost a complete overhaul. We have to change the education system, both in terms of curriculum, content, but also in terms of the way in which we deliver learning. We are called upon to think creatively around all these and improve the skills of teachers. There's a whole debate raging right now that interventions that are underway. But all these must operate on the back of the digital economy. Otherwise, we will fail. The next project, the sixth, is these 100,000 houses that we have to build. And that means if you average it well, over the next few years, a minimum of 25,000 a year. Some will say it is impossible. You are overly ambitious. You are setting your goals too high and setting yourself up for failure. I would rather go that route than set them too low and reach them with little effort. No. I'm more for the big dreams. Dreams of intensity, dreams of immensity. That's where I am. Not the low end of the spectrum. So we're going to build 100,000 houses. It will be done. I had given 3 years to the minister. He came back to me and says he wants to do it in 2 years. He needs the support. Unwavering. You see, there are certain levels when we get to, we brook no debate. Redikole will know this. When the command is issued, you execute. You don't debate with the commander. You don't start questioning him. We will shoot you and kill you on the spot in a war situation. We're in a crisis situation here. We're not going to start theorizing and debating niceties. No. We have to execute on the trot. So these 100,000 houses shall be built. The next is the energy and water sufficiency and full distribution. To run all these, we need to be self-sufficient in energy. You look at BPC right now. They have entered into power purchase agreements running into billions. Totally inexplicable. Unjustifiable. It is difficult to understand what people were thinking. But then it is difficult to understand many things about how BPC and that space has been managed. It is difficult to understand Murupule B right now. Especially if you are told that the Chinese government advised us and said, whatever you do, don't deal with this company. And what do? Typical us. We do exactly that which we are being advised not to do. We get into serious trouble, we turn to the Chinese, they look at us. In law, they call it voluntary assumption of risk. Volenti non fit in iuria. You voluntarily assumed this risk. You must bear the consequences. This is where we are with Murupule B. And it has been in remedial stage for 6 years now. It is still not functioning. This is what we've been doing as a country. And the people out there are watching and asking themselves, are these people really educated? And that's why they have no respect for education. Because they see what we do, educated people, and they think, I can reason better. So they despise us. And they are justified in despising us, at least on the actions that we've taken so far. This is the challenge. So we need to address water. We need to address power. And when we digitalize and we start building data centers, sovereign clouds, and what have you, hyperscalers, we are going to have power. Actually, when you build a data center, it requires at least 2 levels of backup. If this one fails, this one must kick in. If there's a problem here, the other one must kick in. It's not what we've always thought. So we are called upon to think differently. The 8th, the sports and creative industry. We need to rekindle, to reawaken sports and recreation. The 9th, mining, diversification. And in mining, we have taken an approach effectively of outsourcing certain functions and operations. We issue licenses willy-nilly to people who keep them. 3 years, they do nothing. They come back, they renew. They go on, and I know what some of them are doing. They're looking for money, which they can't find, to do the prospecting, to then bring it to bankable feasibility if that is possible, and then ultimately do the mining. In that period, we are in total ignorance. We don't know what we have, what amounts of it. We can't monetize that, and we are poor. And yet we are sitting on trillions of dollars of mineral wealth. So we've taken approaches that have also compromised us as a country and as leaders. So we've asked for a consolidation, proper accounting for every prospecting license, so that we accelerate the move from exploration to mining, if that is possible. Otherwise, these licenses must be returned. And then the special economic zones. One investor came, engaged with, whether it was BITC or CESA, said, I want to set up. They say, well, you must go to SIPA, incorporate your company, and then come to us. He says, no. You said you were a one-stop shop. What are you talking about? Now you are referring me elsewhere. I thought I come here and everything happens here. And you realize that there's a misalignment. We need to start realigning. I was talking to some investor who was operating in Mauritius, says to me, the environment you have, which is not ideal, less than ideal, is actually much better than Mauritius. Much better. I said, how? I thought Mauritius was way ahead. I said, no, Mauritius markets very well. But at the practical level, there are challenges. To incorporate a company, you have to go all the way and have approval from the, I don't know whether it's the deputy prime minister. And that takes months. So at least in your case, it can be done very quickly. I said, wow. Can you then move your operations from Mauritius to here? He says, yes. That's what we've come here to explore. And they say, actually, if we are successful, expect an influx of companies operating in Mauritius to come here. So we must expect that influx, prepare for it so that we are able to onboard and have this environment that welcomes. So we need to look at all these entities, CESA, SPEDU, BITC, Stock Exchange, and establish a national value proposition so that we ensure immediate offtake of investments. So we're going to have to establish collaborations. Right now you hear diamonds are not being sold. What do you mean diamonds are not being sold? What is the story? Are there no interested buyers? There are. I asked ODC, called them in the middle of the night because I was angry. Said, I want you here now, 12, midnight. Then I calmed down and said, come at 10 tomorrow. And they came at 10. Came with a stack of slide presentations to give to me, a whole bunch. So I ran through them quickly. I listened to the presentation. And I said to them, you see, between me and you, I have the advantage because I'm ignorant. And it is my ignorance that is the advantage. I don't know anything about diamonds. You know everything. And whatever strictures and constraints you have in your minds, I don't have. So I approach this thing fresh. Why are you not selling diamonds? Gives me a whole story. Said, you have mortgaged yourselves to one model of evacuation. You are using auctions. You were set up to be different from De Beers, to give us something different to compete in this space. But you haven't. What is the problem? So the problem is not that diamonds cannot be bought. It is that we've tied ourselves to a single band spectrum in relation to how we operate in this space. It's important for us to acknowledge these weaknesses. So the country doesn't have money, but it has diamonds, and we can't sell. Doesn't make sense to me. So, what does all this outline mean to you? Takes us to the problem always, procurement. You want to construct a hospital. That's the project. The process of procurement becomes an even bigger project in and of itself. It will take you ages. I have 3 years, I said. I set this for myself, 3 years. I wanted to put myself under immense pressure so I don't sleep at night. Wake up and have nightmares about delivering within 3 years. And I'm not going to wait 5 years for a procurement process. No, I'm not going to do that. This must be understood. The ringtone is not even sexy, brother. just calming him down. But we have a problem, folks. It takes ages to get things done. And when they are done, it's at huge cost. I was told, rumor that reached me, is that there's some piece of equipment that was procured for Princess Marina. The same piece of equipment had been acquired by Bamaleti Lutheran Hospital for a certain amount. Exactly the same piece of equipment. Now, when it is sold to Princess Marina, it is at more than double the price. And it is being procured. Something is wrong, clearly. You can't say you don't know. Well, it was procured just next door at half the price. Why are you buying it at twice the price? Are you serious? What are the consequences then? Because the problem with all of us maybe is because there are no consequences to some of these staggering failures and indiscretions. And they occasion a huge loss. And then we complain there's no money. We are struggling to pay salaries. But we are siphoning, we are wasting the money. This is the problem. And so you have opportunistic players. Politicians will ride on the bandwagon and start firing salvos at you. But you invite their opprobrium sometimes. We need to do things in a manner that we can justify. I can stand in public and defend any decision I've taken or I will take. Because I take these decisions expecting fire. And I live in that range of fire. I live there. The wild lands of controversy, fire, fighting, I'm there. That's my domicile. And when I take these decisions, I think them out. And if I realize I've made a mistake, I'll stand publicly and say, yeah, I erred here. I was acting in good faith, honest but mistaken belief. But some of these are completely unjustifiable. This is what we face as government, all of us as accounting officers. So in relation to all these projects that I've outlined, we're going to have to move with speed. We're going to have to be very agile. So your tender process is not going to work. I reject it openly, publicly, and I tell the public, I don't do tenders. It's not going to work. In the traditional manner in which it was done, it is fraught. It's a seedbed for corruption. So we need to find new ways. Somebody said to me there's something called the Swiss Challenge model. You get an unsolicited bid, you call the best in the space, and you make it available to them and say, here, this guy says he can build the A1 for us. This is what his thoughts are. Give us yours, quickly. And they come back and tell you, and you go back to him and say, brother, they have something better. They are giving us a better proposition than you. What do you say? To give him an opportunity, the right of response. If he says, no, I can't beat them, you go with the one that beats all of them. Quickly. These are not people we know or we even care about. We care about our interests and that the projects get delivered. And we evaluate, we examine thoroughly. We deploy our own expertise to check and satisfy ourselves that this is the best proposition in these circumstances. So the tender is not the only way. We've just mortgaged ourselves unreasonably and unduly to it. We must free ourselves from it. The better to explore other quicker options, but always maintain transparency, accountability, and have the public even track itself. So we need to start thinking around these. And we need to make sure that we fight unemployment. These are the KPIs. We improve dramatically the ease of doing business through digitalization and other means. We must improve our rankings in terms of transparency and openness. We are going to improve our global rankings in relation to corruption. We're going to improve our service, our accessibility, consistency, and predictability, increase our GDP growth. We want growth everywhere. And in doing these things, we are not going to operate like sleepwalkers bereft of any compassion or zombies deficient of love. We're going to make sure we empower our citizens, yes, people with disabilities, women, young people, and we're going to bring in tons of foreign investment. The amount of money that we need, we don't have locally. We've got to bring it in from outside. We've got to bring foreign direct investment. We've got to facilitate investors. Appreciating all the downsides that we've got to move. And so for you as accounting officers, we call for agility. We call for a sense of urgency in relation to these things. And in the process, there will be many clashes. Some of you are now beginning to clash with your ministers. They come to me and they are aggrieved. They say, I'm not going to be able to deliver on the assignment that you've given to me and your expectation of me, because my permanent secretary is effectively sabotaging me. How? They take their sweet time. They're unresponsive to urgent issues. They find all sorts of ways to stall and sabotage. That's what they say. And they make demands on me. Keep sending me messages. How far are you? And I have to manage these tensions. But my focus is on delivery. I want us to deliver. And let there be no doubt about how I work. For me, it's about performance, merit, cutting edge merit from professionals. It's not unreasonable. There's a guy, I always give an example with this guy, I'll not mention his name. I always used to see this guy clad in BDP regalia openly, and he was a public servant at the time. Got very angry, watched this, said, this guy. And I was not in any doubt that he would be the first candidate to be sacked. I was clear in my mind, because I had seen him. Then I came to occupy the position. Now is the time. and people came to me. Unsolicited advice. When they come, it's normally partisan folks. They say, Comrade Press. Then you know it is partisan. When they start it that way, say, you know this guy? I said, I know him very well. They say, you can do whatever you want to do, please. This one you must keep. I said, what? They say, he's a performer. This guy does his work. I said, is that so? I say, yeah. And others come from different places saying the same thing. And you know, it gets serious when the first lady also says, there's an officer, I was there, and this guy was, he seemed to be in full control. He knew everything. Everybody came, asked. The testimony was, said, okay, it was unsolicited as well. So I triangulated and I said, this guy whom I had wanted to fire has put me in a situation where he has made it impossible, not difficult, impossible for me to fire him. And as fate would have it, his contract came up for consideration. And the recommendation was there. I signed. I give him 36 months. Without flinching. You see how these things work. And you sit there and say, the guy doesn't like me. I think he will fire me. No, I don't have to like you. Doesn't matter whether you and I like each other or not. What matters is, are you performing? That's all. The liking doesn't factor in. You acquit yourself on your performance. That's all. That's what matters to me. Nothing else. And I assure you, here and now. So if you do your work, you perform, then I have no reason, no justification. I cannot in good conscience fire you. I can't. Or not renew your contract if it is up for renewal. I would never do such a thing. But it has to be on performance. That's all. And I know sometimes when it comes to performance, we are biased with the accounting officers. We are disrespectful to those that we supervise. We abuse them. We don't give them the benefit of the doubt. We don't allow them to think creatively, to critique and tell us where they think we are missing it. We are too sensitive. We are like hothouse plants. We wilt when we are exposed to the refreshing sun of healthy engagement. No. We must be fair. We must be honest. And star performers must be allowed to rise. So this is what I hope we will do. And if we stick to these ground rules, we should do very well together. There are many other initiatives, many outreaches. We go to places, and these days, when I visit any country, I want to know what it is they can offer us immediately. That's the bias. What are you able to do? What can we do together? We need money. What do you think you can? So it's very important that when we go, wherever we go, we understand what the deliverables are. And they must sound in some amount of money. We need to be able to measure. I'm trying to raise $600 million by the end of this year. However it is raised, get out there and talk to people and say, can you give a grant? Can you do this? Can you do that? So that we accelerate. And I see how we operate. When a minister travels, he travels or she travels with a whole battalion of people. And let me tell you this about myself. And I saw this when I was a member of parliament. You get a whole liver arch file of documents, properly annotated. Everything is explained. Pickup time is this. You're going to be picked up at this time. Then you go to the airport. Then you do. Then they say there's a briefing session. What? Briefing. Briefing on what? No, on the trip. What trip? No, the one you're going. I say, oh, okay, I go there and I listen. And they take me over what they already have given. I don't know whether the assumption is that, or maybe in your experience, the folks that you were dealing with never read. I read these things. I do. Thoroughly. I read. I familiarize myself intimately with every part of it. So when you call me and you want to brief me, I sit there exasperated. What are you saying? It's there already. Don't waste your time. Your own time. You should be using it to achieve outcomes. You are coming to brief me. When you have already briefed me in written form, meticulously at that. So why are you briefing? So let's cut down on the culture of briefing people. If you've given the document, tell the person, put it in bold letters, this service of this document on you is underpinned by an assumption that it will be read. That's what you must do. So that you don't then consume your time. You don't consume your time coming to brief. Mr. Kue there and his team came to brief me. I said, what? No, we want to talk to you. No. You are consuming your time, valuable time that you could be using elsewhere, to come and teach this ignorant man who can't read. I must read. If I can't read these things, then perhaps I have no reason to be sitting here. So if we cut down on the briefings, especially if we've put where there's need for engagement, and when you come to brief, because I have read, let's get to the issues that require engagement. We focus on those. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you are off. Rather than spend the whole day with you taking me through stuff that you've presented to me anyway. That's the first one. The second is the number of people that travel. You have given me the documentation. I'm fine. I'll find my way. I don't need 20 people chaperoning me. No. The only part that I cannot cut down on is the security. When I tried, they pushed back and told me, this one is not your terrain. Say, it is our job to protect you. Maybe they think I must be protected even from myself. So they say, no, this one, if anything happens to you, we will lose our jobs. And I backed off. But aside from them, others, let's be very clear and cut down. I don't have a problem traveling with one person or just alone. I don't have a problem with that, by the way. I'll find my way. But when you have a whole battalion of people traveling all the time, and then decisions can be taken because the permanent secretary is away. What is the permanent secretary doing? They're chaperoning the minister. And the minister is so daft, can't find, come on. If the minister runs into trouble, he can pause and call. What do we say about this one? But other than that, let's keep it tight, trim. So I think let's look at it at these things this way. I know it's unusual. I think, and some people feel disrespected when they don't have a whole entourage. All the time when I traveled when I was a member of parliament, and I told the officers, please. They would even want to carry my bags. I said, no, I'll carry my own bags. And I used to carry Matsirele's bags as well in the process. And write her speeches, because you guys will write, for somebody who is challenged in many respects, you write 25 pages. I would put it down to 2 pages, simplify it for her and say, Mati, take this. And she'll go there, she has 3 minutes to speak, she speaks, she comes back and says, "Ay, when I came 2 seats at thought." So sometimes you need to understand the person and just put these things down crisply for them so that they are able to internalize and speak. And even the speeches that people write, I see, you write speeches, and this is a weakness. It's a weakness I have. I have a difficulty reading a speech. I have serious difficulty. It always seems curated for me. It always seems dishonest. I look at a person reading a speech and say, but this is not you. Somebody wrote this for you. And just that creates a problem. So when I speak, I always want to be honest. I always speak from the heart. Because you come across as more genuine. You become vulnerable when you are there. When there's a mediating document that was not prepared by you, even the diction, it's not to you. There's a way in which I speak, you know. You've listened to me. So when it's not me, you will tell, this guy is fudging, reading somebody's stuff. So I want to speak my own thoughts, take whatever the issues are and communicate them as myself. So this is what we always must do as well, so that your work becomes easier. Your work does not involve spoon feeding and chaperoning. No, that's not your work. Your work is provide information, guide professionally. That's as far as it goes. Chaperoning, no. But where you feel somebody is challenged in a particular way, you might sit with them and say, we think this one you need to approach this way. But I think that's as far as it goes. So I'm happy to have engaged with you today. I look forward to more engagements with you. I expect that you will come under fire of the populist space out there. And on the floor of Parliament, you will be attacked. And you should take it in your stride, take it on the chin, but always defend your turf with facts, with reasoned submissions and respectful interventions, even in the face of disrespect. And those of you who went and were subjected to some inhospitable engagement, you held your ground, you kept your cool, I applaud you. But of course, we've raised the issue and said, well, we don't stop you from probing, but do it with decorum and respect. When you set out to humiliate, to embarrass a person publicly because you happen to have that opportunity at that time, it speaks not to the weaknesses of the person you are disparaging. It exposes your own frailties and insecurities. And so I hope that our leaders also internalize the humility to engage respectfully with yourselves. They must respect that you are professionals, you hold these positions. and even when they think things have been done wrongly, they must always keep it within the bounds of respect. And so I'm very happy. Thank you very much for this engagement. And I will now open it up for questions and answers and comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. President. We have listened and we have heard. As it has been alluded to, questions and comments, I don't know what format or order we're going to take, but I'll see by the raise of hands. We have a roving mic somewhere. If you feel you're not audible enough, you might use the mic. The floor is open. At this stage, originally we had requested it's going to be a closed session for the questions and comments so that you might feel free to express yourselves well. And by that, I'll request our media to maybe excuse us for now. Thank you. And also, our live television will be going offline now. I'll invite. But maybe while we're still waiting, you could express your interest to comment so that we move right into it immediately. Oh, this mic is working. Thank you. Oh, the cameras are still on. Maybe because we're in this auditorium, they never go off.
Welcome to Botswana Television Studios, where your concept becomes a reality. Looking for the ideal setting to bring your ideas to life? BTV Studios 2 to 4 are available for hire with cutting-edge facilities that meet international standards. Join us on our morning show and news channel for paid interviews that will promote your services and products to a larger audience.
And you know, every day that they bring convenience, reliability, and we're here to have a chat with them.
Need a venue?